Welcome to Dice Houses, the podcast for tactical wargaming. All right, troops, fall in and stand to because it's time for another intel drop from the Dice Houses HQ. This is your briefing for today's mission, a deep dive into the wargaming battlefield where strategy meets firepower. Joining the command staff tonight, we've got the usual suspects. Derek, our battlefield logistics expert, always ready with his tactical insights and opinions. Evan, the recon specialist, scoping out the latest meta thinking and whatever other shenanigans he can come up with. Matt, the ordnance officer with a keen eye for devastating firepower, yet still has to win. And Sean, the seasoned veteran, keeping the operation running smooth with his sharp wit and Simcoe stories. In this episode, we're setting our sights on the Sober Circuit tournaments for Ontario, who's dominating the battlefield, which events we've got taking place, and what lessons can be learned from the front lines. Then we'll regroup for Houses Hobby Focus, where we'll check in on our latest painting and modeling operations. And finally, we go full blitzkrieg with a breakdown of armoured platoons, how to field them effectively, when to bring the big guns, and whether these steel beasts are worth the points cost. So strap in, lock and load, and let's go. The guys are back. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 6 of season 3. We've got one more to go, and then we're going to take a summer break, and then we'll come back later, but we'll talk about that next episode. Okay, so like I said, we've got stuff to talk about. Let's get into AdeptiCan and back again. Derek.
Yes, sir. I lost my place here. I was doing some adjustments. What are we doing here? Where are we?
Too many things open.
No, it says Evan's going to talk about.
You
jumped right to the end of the script. You just went right to the end of the script.
I am reading the wrong stupid script.
Just go with it. Yes, and
AdeptiCan. So we decided not to go to AdeptiCon. 2 main reasons. 1, we're Canadian. 2, the dollar took a pretty big hit recently, so a lot of us were, it was a good excuse one way or the other. So that being said, we are doing AdeptiCan here in Canada. So while everybody's playing down in Milwaukee, we are going to do our little thing here. So we've got a Battletech Day, a Silver Bayonet Day, a Bolt Action Day. And what are the other 2 guys?
Well, you're not there on Wednesday. We'll be doing Hail Caesar on Wednesday.
That's why I don't remember that one. And there's another one that I'm not going to be there for.
We're going into Toronto on the Sunday.
And, yeah, but that's Sunday. I thought there was 5 games. Anyways, we're ending it Sunday. Alpha Strike. Yeah, that's Battletech.
Yep.
Yeah, Battletech.
Wednesday's Battletech. Thursday's Silver Bayonet. Friday is Hail Caesar. Saturday is the Bolt Action Tournament that we're all playing in.
Yeah.
And Sunday, the 5th day, was to go into Toronto.
Yeah, so there's I think it's called the Dungeon. Matt, what's the name of the restaurant?
The restaurant?
Yeah.
Stormcrow Manor.
Stormcrow Manor. It's a D&D styled diner. So you can choose your food as you normally would on the menu, or you can randomly roll with a bunch of D20s and decide what you're getting, what's going to be in it, and what you're drinking. So we figured that would be a great way to end AdeptiCan 2025.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to upgrade to the mystery box, so my meal comes in a dry ice box. Treasure chest.
That's what we did for my kids. It comes with the toilet.
No, I'll be up to that. Okay, so we'll take a quick look at the Sober Circuit before we jump over to Evan with tournaments and what's happening across Ontario, of which there is lots of tournaments taking place. So Sober, just so you know what it is, first of all, you could just go to our website, dicehouses.ca, go to the Sober, which is South Ontario Bolt Action Circuit. and you'll see a list of tournaments that are taking place across Ontario. Yes, Mr. Sean, how can I help you?
You said SOBA is South Ontario Bolt Action Circuit. It's the SOBA circuit, or it'd be SOBAC.
So, but I know, but I chose for it to be Sober Circuit. I could rename it, but I don't know why. I don't know why it's not so back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I do weird stuff like that, but
Carry on.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we've got events taking place. We've got quite a few tournaments that are in the schedule, and the season runs from October 1st through to September 31st. And yeah, it's got a good growth. We've got quite a number of players and quite a lot of tournaments. So I'm just going to quickly take us through the standings. Give 5 minutes of fame or 30 seconds of fame to those people that are doing really well. But so we have the main standings, which is based on you have your 5 best tournaments that you attend count towards your overall score. So if you do 6 tournaments, you come first 5 times, and the 6th one you came second, you would stick with the 5 first. So that's how the points are done. So from the main standings, we have Daniel Kratzer with 39 points, who is my favorite German. He's such a nice guy, plays Germany.
That's the guy that's in first place?
Yes, that is the guy. Yeah.
He's such an unassuming winner, too. Like, when he wins, he's just so unassuming.
Yeah, great painter. Just all around nice guy. And he's one of those rare breed Germans because he actually has a sense of humor. So it's he's really good. And then we've got Kevin Nagy, who is currently he's serving. He's a reservist, but he's on duty at the moment. But he's currently in second with 36. He's just 3 behind. Then we've got me in third, although technically I can't win, kind of being commissioner, but I have to kind of show people's. 4th is Robert Shoering, who runs a couple of tournaments out on the East Coast, might as well be East Coast because it's the other side of Toronto. And then we've got Andrew Buchan rounding out in 5th. So we've got 22 registered players at the moment. There's always new ones being added, new stores joining in, so we'll see that grow. But yeah, so that's going great. Then we have that's the kind of the primary score, which is based on your positioning in the event. Then we have the hobby community scoring. So this is based on the number of tournaments that you've attended. Did you play multiple armies over those events? Did you win any awards like Wooden Spoon or Best Painted? Did you organize an event? So it's kind of not just the winning, it's the hobby side of things as well. So funnily enough, this is based still on the number of tournaments, but some events played. But Kevin Nagy is at the top in first place, with Daniel, our favorite German, in second. Tanner McCarthy in third, and Matthew Sturt. What are you doing up there?
He sounds so sure. Doing well.
He's like, this can't be right. Let me adjust this score.
That is complete. This is obviously the show of wrong tonight because I had to put it in order. That's why Matt was there.
You started out so hot. We were sounding so good, and then we just drove it right into the
right. So actually, from the hobby community perspective, in first place is me. That's why I know that it was wrong. So actually, I'm in first place. Again, I can't win it. Kevin Nagy is second. Third is Daniel Kratzer. 4th is Sean Murray. And 5th is Robert Shoering. And some of those is based on the fact that, like Robert and myself, we've organized tournaments. So
I was going to say, Robert's got to be up there for the amount of tournaments he's running. Yeah. Run tournaments on Sundays, guys. I need tournaments on Sundays. Farg.
Yeah, and all the other thing as well, you also get points for wooden spoon, or if you have played in multiple cities. So if you play in more than one city, you get points. So the aim is to try and get people to travel to different stores, different communities, and participate. So yeah, that's where we're at, and there's prizes, and there's a really cool trophy. Basically, it's the 17-pounder shell penetrating the armor of a Panther tank. I don't know if you've seen it. It looks like a shell coming through inside the tank. That's the trophy for winning hobby and overall. So some good prizes. So you'll hear from us later when we talk about the tournaments. There's a lot of tournaments, so definitely make sure you're registered and get into those, because it's a really good time. You get to meet lots of people and have fun and get out of your comfort zone and play different people with different kind of metas and different approaches. Okay. That is that one. So after that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to do some recceing, see what events are out there. And Evan will come back and let us know what the lay of the land is.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. That was our first picture we've ever tried. We'll see how it goes.
I just want to apologize to the users or the listeners right now, because I have our sound all great, but it seems like as soon as we're all talking, the sound kind of drops and gets muddled. I don't know if that's our internet connection, but when we have one person talking, we've got a nice solid audio. But as soon as we start interrupting each other, it just plummets. So I want to apologize right now for that. I'm trying to work it out and figure out why that's going on. So,
Excellent. Good.
Okay.
So let's head into the tournaments with Evan.
Cool. Okay. Starting off with Brawl in the Hall. This is in 6th of April on a Sunday in Kingston. Craig is attending with the British, and it is 800 points recon rules. It's a sober circuit premium event.
Yeah, so Derek, you said you wanted events on Sundays. There's one right there. And we're not going.
I'm still, I know I told you I couldn't go, but I'm still asking and trying to earn some brownie points to get there.
Just tell Steph that you're actually going to get the milk.
Yes, yes.
It's come back later.
Yes. I got to go get eggs from the States.
You need to go to Craig's house to help him with his computer. Anyway,
Yeah.
26th of April here in Burlington is Case Yellow. So this is hosted by ourselves. It is at Torchlight Gaming and 1,250 points. And it is going to be a sober event again. Then
That's also the culmination of our league too, right?
Yes.
That's what's bringing this on, yeah.
I think we're going to end up with over 20 players for that tournament, which will be the largest in Ontario that's been run. So that's pretty good. Who here is going to be playing in that? I could see if I can get it to Sunday.
Obviously.
I've got this one cleared, so I will be there. If you need a player, I'll play. Because I would much rather play. But if you need help running it, I'll definitely step aside to do that.
Okay, so definitely 3 of you are playing, and then 2 of us, one of us may, either myself or Derek will play in it or whatever.
Yeah. If we get 26 people, we need more than one person running it. So
yeah. Ooh, okay.
But that's an offline conversation.
Yeah, I can't do this Sunday either because I'm going to go see Come From Away in Toronto before it leaves.
Yeah, that was good. That's so good.
Evan, continue. I can't believe how many events we have. This is awesome.
Carrying on. So in the 24th and 25th of May in Ottawa, there is the CTC, the 2-day championship hosted by the D6 Dodgers. This is again a sober premium event, and Sean is attending to represent us to that one.
Yeah. I will be there alone.
That's a big one.
I mean, there'll be a lot of hosers there, but I'll be the lone dice hoser.
Yeah. There'll be some. Usually, apparently, some Americans come up as well to play. So, yeah.
Close to the border ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, then 7th of June, the Game Chamber in London. There's a D-Day themed event, which is also a sober event.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing that one.
I'm going to that one as well.
Going down for that. Looking forward to that.
Then 19th of July in Ottawa, there is the Attack on All Fronts. All Fronts 4? I'm not too sure
They've run through already over the last month. They've just joined the sober circuit.
Okay. So that's on the 19th of July. Then the same guys have got an Attack on All Fronts number 5. That is the 20th of September. Then also in September, on the 27th and the 28th, here in Burlington at Torchlight Games, there is a 2-day event called Danger Close, which is the culmination of the sober circuit season.
Yeah, attended by all of us.
And that's a sober premium event.
Yeah, so Derek and I have done some talking about this. I think we as a Dice Hosters group will probably sit down and chat about it because we'd like to make this a special themed event, that it's not a competitive event so much, that it's more a fun, kind of a weird event. So as an example, we were thinking we could do maybe a food drive for the local food bank. And if you bring a non-perishable item for each round and donate it, you then get a sticky Band-Aid, right? And you call the medic during a game. You can do it once per game. You call the medic. You give your Band-Aid to the medic, and the medic gives you a big dice, and you get to use that dice to re-roll your result. But you can only use it once per round.
Yeah.
So just kind of like weird things like that. Get people to bring interesting lists. Yeah. Again, not looking for it to be competitive, for it to be a bit more fun.
Because by then we're also hoping that SOBA, it's the end of the SOBA circuit, but this isn't going to make or break whether you're first or second. This is, hey, everybody's been competitive all year. Let's just have some fun, throw some dice, and for a good cause.
Yeah.
So
CTC is really the competitive one of the 2-day kind of GT style.
Yeah, and we don't want to step on any toes for being competitive because at the end it's just a nice way to kind of, show that we're gamers, but we're gamers with hearts, not worried about winning.
And it's called Danger Close, but if anybody comes up with a better name, we're happy to change it. So send us your suggestions. We'll consider them. As long as they're legal, non-hateful, non-insulting. But other than that, we're all, send us what you suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay, carrying on. More tournaments. Incoming on the 18th of October, Mecca Games in St. Catharines. This is a doubles event. We've attended a number of these over the years. It's always a great day out. Good fun. Then 15th of November, again in Ottawa, there is Attack on All Fronts, number 6. And that's it so far on the list.
How far is Ottawa? Is that a 4-hour drive or a 6-hour drive?
It's about 5, right?
5, yeah.
Montreal's about 6. Ottawa's about 5.
Yeah.
Now, depending when this broadcast goes live, there is another tournament at Tista Minis in Hamilton, but that's on the 29th of March. So that's a week and a half's time from when we're recording this. So we don't know.
We're recording on the 19th.
Yeah. They might still have space. They might not. We don't know. You'll have to contact them and check.
I think I might go to Ottawa to that that Attack on All Fronts 6, the one in November. I might do that one. I would like to get it.
We can't go to the Attack on All Fronts on the 4th. I'll be 54 that day and drunk as a skunk. Playing alumni.
I'll be 52 the day before.
Wait,
Yes.
November 15th.
Which is why I'll still be drunk on the 19th.
Sorry, Matt, what did you say?
I thought there was a summer tournament at Mecca as well, but I'm not seeing it now. There'll be more. There'll be another podcast before then, so we'll get it added to the list if I find it.
And all these lists are also on our website. And of course, if you heard the name, you could look on their website as well.
And Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's it for
Anything
joining
else? Yep. Okay. So, with that, we're going to take another little break. We're going to check the engines, make sure the ammo's been loaded, everything's stowed. We'll be back after this little break, and we'll be talking about tanks. Okay, we're back. I hope you had I needed a bio break, so I don't know about you guys, but okay, bolt action armored platoon review. Derek, I'm going to hand it over to you, man.
Yeah, we're going to discuss this episode. This is our big talk, is the armored platoon. When you want it, what it is, if you want it, and what shenanigans you can do. So the first thing is, what is an armored platoon? Basically, it's the platoon you make after your rifle platoon that has any armored vehicles that aren't transports. Then we get into what an infantry platoon commander is versus a tank commander, because there is a little bit of a difference. Infantry platoon commanders, for whatever reason, can snap to vehicles, but vehicles cannot snap to infantry. Is there other differences that I can't think of right now?
The range of the snap 2 for a vehicle is bigger.
Yeah, because it's off the vehicle, right? Or is it 12?
It's 12 off the vehicle.
Yeah, 12 off the vehicle, which is probably why you can't snap to infantry.
Do you still get the morale bonus from a command tank?
It's only +1.
That's what I thought, so it's +1, right?
Yep.
Good.
But if you run a lot of tanks, maybe you want to take a major, put him in an open top, and now you're +4, only 6 inches. But you're 12 inches then, because you're a major, right?
Yeah, 12 inches, and you've measured off the vehicle, so depending
And
on the
you
size
lap
of the vehicle,
Yep.
could give you a couple extra inches. Ah!
I wasn't going to say it.
Somebody had a laugh. So how do you build a platoon? First vehicle in your platoon is the command vehicle. It can be any vehicle you want, but it costs an extra 10 points for the command vehicle role. Role ROLE, not ROLL. So you're paying for, that's the only time you're paying for a tax, basically, your tax for your platoon commander. Then you can add your vehicles to it. One more is required, and then the rest are bonus. After 2 vehicles, if you plan on running 4, I really think, honestly, you might as well go for a second rifle. If you can get a cheap second rifle platoon, a second armored platoon, if you can. Just for that second command vehicle that, like you said, we discussed earlier, you got a 12-inch bubble off your vehicle for a +1. That gives you, 2 command vehicles roughly offset from the center of the board. You can get that command way out there. That also is, the tax is not just the second 10 points for the second vehicle for command. It's also the tax is going to be your second rifle platoon, because you cannot have any platoon, whether it's armored, heavy vehicle, or heavy weapons or whatever, unless you have a second rifle platoon. So it might not be worthwhile. It depends on what your makeup is. So how do we build a platoon? Is done. So now you got your in-game rules. So for anti-tank, Sean, light vehicles, heavy vehicles, what do you think of anti-tank rules?
So anti-tank is a huge range of weapons because tanks start at 7+. So if you're taking vehicles, if you're taking an armored platoon, they're going to be some sort of anti-tank function to them. Even if they're autocannons, they're still +1 if they're a light autocannon with an HE of 1 inch, so they're dual purpose. And usually the autocannons have multiple shots, where everything else, if it's not an autocannon, it's pretty much going to be rate of fire 1. And one shot in version 2 I never really thought twice about it. But in version 3, wait, we're 3 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, up with Age of 6.
Yeah.
Version 3, we hit now on 4s, and if you're using a fire or an ambush order, you're hitting on 3s. So now rate of fire 1
against other vehicles.
against the vehicle, yeah, in an anti-tank roll.
Yeah.
So it's hitting on 3s against another tank with rate of fire 1 is now, that's 66% chance. So if you have 2 tanks, one of them is going to hit if they're both using that fire order. So that's okay. So if you look through the long list of things, they start at that 1+ with the light autocannon.
Sorry, light autocannon is +2.
Or yeah, sorry, +2.
Yep.
+2. There's no yeah.
Heavy machine guns +1.
Yeah, 50 cal
HMGs.
is the +1. So the 50 cal starts at +1. Then light autocannon, then heavy autocannon, then light anti-tank gun. Plus, and at the +2 is also
Flamethrowers, anti-tank rifles, and your howitzers.
Yep. And then the anti-tank 3 is the 3-inch howitzer, the medium. And that might be it for 3. And then 4 is the heavy, but that's too expensive. Where a medium or a light anti-tank gun is the 4+ as well. And those are quite reasonably priced. Then they go up from there. So for all those little 7+ vehicles running around, or if there's still soft skins out there, then in the +2, +3, +4 range, you're good. You're well covered on those. But after that, it starts to pick up. If you're going after anti-tank, you got to start looking at the points investment. Something like a Panzer II or a Stuart, they're down at the 140-ish range. They're okay. They're going to be your, I want to beat up on light tanks, or again just infantry. A lot of them have multiple machine guns. So there's tanks with the turret. I guess we should also mention that there's tanks with the turret, and then there's the anti-tank vehicles that don't have turrets. They're just going to be your Hetzers, your Martyrs, your Ferdinands.
Good life.
Yep, your SUs. So those are okay as well, but you're going to be playing them differently. And the problem with tanks near the edge is if you fail a morale test and go backwards, you've got a problem because you're going to go off the table. So you kind of want to get your armor going forward, and then if they don't have a turret, then you're going to run into that problem. So where they're going to be on your sides, and now your armor's not as good anymore. So a Martyr is a 7+ suddenly, or a 6+, and you can't even shoot at something. You only get 6 rounds. You only get 6 shots with this tank that you're bringing, and that's best case scenario. Realistically, you're going to see 4 shots if you're lucky, and if you're hitting on 4s, 2 of them are going to hit. So you really, taking tanks itself is a bit of a gamble. They become more of a their threat is better, and so machine guns are 15 points each. You can toss on the machine guns on a lot of these. They can build up machine guns. They have other functions, where the HEs become a little more attractive because now that 2-inch, because most of these anti-tank guns, light and medium, are only a 1-inch HE shell option, where the heavy and the super heavy are 2 inches. So you can get the same for a lot less points. You can get the light HE. It's anti-tank 2, plus it's a 2-inch template, so that's going to hit 3, maybe 4 infantry on one of those 6 turns of shooting that you get with that rate of fire weapon that's only going to hit half the time, except for that instance where you're firing from ambush or stationary at another tank. So lowest will be about 100, 150, 30 points. So those are where you'll see the spam. You'll want to spam. If you're going the Stuart route or the Panzer II route, you can spam those quite comfortably when they're 100, 140 points. Even the Martyr is only like 100 points. Well, these are all regular prices. Again, inexperienced tanks are scary, and veteran tanks are attractive, but we'll just discuss. This is a huge topic. We'll just consider in this introduction the regular prices. But then you get into the meat and potatoes tanks, the T-34, the Sherman, the Panzer IV, the Panzer III. These are all your 9+ tanks. Now 9+ is where you now start to have a feeling of okay, I don't care if a lot of things are shooting at me now, because all those +2s don't matter anymore. Now you're only starting to worry when you see a light anti-tank gun is shooting back at you. So all those autocannons, that's where the veteran comes in handy, because now you won't even get pinned by an autocannon now. So now you start to exert your authority with your 1 shot per round tank. And now, so you can sit there, line up a shot, and hopefully take out choices. But figuring out what you're going to shoot at when you only get 6 shots, make it count. And then it gets to the ridiculous. It gets there slowly. If you look at the Panther, it's a 9+, which is weird because it's got that sloping armor, but game mechanics being what it is, it's a 9+. And then it's got a super heavy. That's the same gun you'll see on the all the rest of the tanks. Super heavy is as high as it goes. So super heavy is going to be +7 to the dice roll. So once you get up there, you know you're going to be blowing stuff up. You can get KVs are a 10+, Tigers are a 10+ again, and then Tiger 2 is. And is there anything bigger than an 11? There probably is. Maybe in the Russian side. I don't know. But once you get up there, but the problem with that is when you're in that range, you're spending 300 to 400 points on 1 tank that's going to shoot once per round, missing half the time. These big ones often come with 2 machine guns. Great. You can get 2 machine guns on a lot cheaper platform. So it's not about the machine gun when you're that big. It's about not having something that can't be hurt if you're lucky. And if it's veteran, is it not taking pins? So that's an expensive proposition. So the medium is really the meat and potatoes. The medium, when you go to a tournament, you're probably going to see the mediums. You're not going to see the heavies, except for that KV-10 that KV-1. That KV-1 is only like 200 and something, 280 points, ish. That is interesting. The Russians have a lot of interesting heavies because they have lighter guns with heavier armor on the Russian side, and some rules like slow and I'm Russian and potato to cheapen them a little bit.
Yeah.
So
if I remember, heavies can't heavies destroy buildings?
Yes. No, it's not. Yeah, it's heavy. It's you have to be 10+, I believe, to go through buildings.
Yeah, to drive through a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the other thing about tanks. And it's all. I found this out. It apparently works for half tracks too. Is just driving over obstacles, which is very handy when everybody's hiding behind walls. When you can just drive over them. Mm-hmm. But that turns out to be for half tracks too, which I don't think was intentional.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything that said those 2 front wheels operate differently than a fully tracked vehicle when it comes to going over a wall.
Yeah.
So
obstacles or any is 7+, buildings are 10+.
Yeah.
So they didn't rate it versus armored car or whatever. They just rated it by the armor level. So armored cars being 7+ can go through walls. Just not building walls.
So just a pretty quick questions. One's a slight segue, but my second question brings it back. How do you play a tank that's gone through an obstacle, such as a wall or a fence? Do you remove the wall or the fence? Is it still there? What's your approach to that?
I usually leave it there because I consider it rubble. So it's still going to be the leftovers of whatever cover it was before for infantry, but not for vehicles. So if a vehicle was sitting behind it before it was destroyed and it was getting, it was however high enough it needed to be, once that vehicle drives through it, any subsequent vehicles that are beside that or behind that wall, I say you don't get cover anymore. It's all on the ground, but infantry still do because In my mind, the rubble is still there. So it now becomes just rough terrain for running over, which what it would have been before, but infantry still get the cover on the other side of it, but vehicles no longer do.
Okay, but a wheeled vehicle couldn't follow the tank.
No, because they couldn't go over it to begin with, and now it's just a bunch of rough shit that would fuck them up. Apparently, vehicles, those big vehicles, big wheels, can't go over anything.
Now, is that a
My
rule?
brain
Or,
goes down to the wall like a sort of a cartoon where you got the shape of the vehicle that went through it.
That isn't a rule so much as they don't have a rule for it. So that's just, I clear it up with my opponents beforehand and just say, hey, if a vehicle goes through this, we're just going to count it as cover for as the same, but only for infantry going forward? Or do you want to play lift it off and it's no longer on the board, it's gone? 9 times out of 10, my opponents are like, no, that's cool. Let's keep it as rubble for the infantry, and we'll just put a marker beside it so we know that vehicles don't. And if we forget, we forget.
now, but is that a rule, or is that the way you've been playing it?
No, like I said, they don't have a rule for once a vehicle's gone over something. Other than a heavy tank going into a building, it now becomes a ruin. They don't have a rule for any vehicles once they've gone through an obstacle that I've been able to find. Maybe there is something in there. So that's just how I kind of, air quotes, house rule it.
So that's something we might put in our tournament FAQ that we can clarify, because basically there is no rules. So
Yeah.
but yeah, we can.
But that's something you should do at the beginning of the game when you're declaring terrain is, hey, if a vehicle runs over this linear obstacle, what do you want to play it as after?
Yeah.
So my second question, bringing it back, Sean, to what you said about in your overview, do you think solely from an anti-tank perspective, and I'll probably ask you again at the end after we've gone through all this, specifically from an anti-tank perspective, do you think tanks are a viable option to have in your list to hunt other tanks?
Yes, I do. Especially when the points get up there, I think armor's important because the things that are shooting at you are mostly rate of fire 1. We're playing on terrain dense tables, which I think favors the turret. And then it'd be nice if this going through obstacles thing said we could make tank size holes, and you had little tank size markers to put over an obstacle to say that obstacle's not there anymore. So that's even cooler, because you can kind of carve a shooting path for the guys behind you when you do that. And they're rolling cover for your infantry, but I think it's important to a full infantry boots on the ground list seems quite viable. But there is a benefit to be had for something that can, when you look at the table, you can say, well, I can go that way because there's nothing that way that can hurt this thing. And that just allows you to be more mobile and get some action going across the table if you can get finding that target you really want to shoot at with your rate of fire 1 weapon, or break out those 2 machine guns.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense. I kind of agree.
Yeah, a lot of these come with upgrades. Like the machine guns usually you can add them for 15 points. There's a real interesting one that the Americans get, easily catches fire for -5 points. Because for -5 points, you're adding this very small chance you're going to take extra pins. What it is if you're easily catches fire and you're rolled to hit, and it's a caught on fire result, so not blown up, not blown track, but caught on fire, then you take a D3 pins instead of an extra 1 pin. You take an extra D3. So 1/3 of the time, you're still taking 1. It's such a small chance that you're going to suffer a penalty for that -5 points. It almost seems like, given the chance, just sure. If you can do that on 2 or 3 tanks, you've got another machine gun. And then another one is Recce for 10 points. Recce's super important. So Recce, we'll talk about next week how important it is, but it's a very historical, classic thing, Recce. Something that's been around forever. Even say Simcoe, for example. I'm sure we can. Sure. There was a battle, Hancock's Bridge, that was in New Jersey, and Simcoe did a classic recce roll in that battle. He was only a major at the time, which is probably why he was climbing a tree. He scoots up a tree. He draws a perfect map of the farmstead on the other side of the bridge. So the British have been unable to get across this bridge because it's guarded, and it's a tiny little bridge going across a big river. And there's two of them. There's another one down the road. So he goes up on that tree. He makes a perfect little reconnaissance map, and then he leads his troops. Using his map. It was like dark and no moon. And all they had to go by was the map, but the map was so accurate. They were able to count the steps between each rock and each log. They completely snuck up on the house, took the house. There's some claims by the other side that it was foul play to go in there and take the house from the sleeping soldiers. But hey, they were sleeping because they thought they had the bridge to protect them, not when you have good recce. So. In fact, that map was so accurate. If you go to Hancock's Bridge now and you get that little tourist attraction map, same map. It's true.
That's cool.
Yep.
Simcoe rules.
Major Simcoe in this one.
Major Simcoe. Cool. Okay. Who's up next?
Evan, anti-infantry, your favorite Panzer stories.
Yeah, so I personally think that armored and anti-infantry is useful and it's a bit underrated. What I mean is that certain tanks can replace equipment roles. So let's just take, for example, the German Panzer I versus an MMG team. 2 MMGs on the Panzer I versus 1 in the MMG team. It's immune to small arms because it's armored, has better mobility, and is only 20 points more. And obviously the durability is better. I'm not sure how many people want to waste a one-shot anti-tank weapon like a Panzerfaust or something like that against such a small vehicle. And you can go in and cause all sorts of havoc at the back. Then you obviously scale it up and you can get the Panzer IIIe with its 3 MMGs on it, which I absolutely love it. And yeah, my personal sort of rule of thumb is that satisfaction goes down proportional to the size of the tank. So for example, a veteran Tiger II with 1 pin could still fail its role. So you kind of want to keep that sweet spot of medium price to low price tanks, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. There are the heavy cats out there and the insert name of other big tank here, French Char 2, whatever. But no, I don't really play those. I prefer the smaller tanks, lots of machine gun shots, anti-infantry, and yeah, they seem to work quite effectively.
What about tanks with flamethrowers that are anti-infantry?
They are.
Any of those jump out? Do any of those jump out on fire for you? Like, they seem appealing? Because the
my dudes have been crisped many a time by a wasp. So yes, I like the wasp because I keep getting burnt by them. When the British book comes out and eventually the Commonwealth book, then I'll definitely have a wasp in a force somewhere.
Do vehicle flamethrowers still take an extra pin or a pin when they fire, or is it just the man packed? Does anybody know?
Not offhand. I can have a look.
Yeah, if you could check that out. And while you check that out, I'll start talking about versatile. Versatile is an interesting rule that some tanks have. It seems like the Soviets have a lot in comparison to everybody else, but I didn't really look at the British because I was looking more at the American list recently. Versatile is when your gun, your main gun, can, instead of just being an anti-tank gun, it can also act as a howitzer. The biggest thing about this to remember is when your opponent says, I'm going on ambush, you have to ask him, what round are you loading? Because depending on that, you could attack it with the opposite of what he has loaded. Like if he's got HE loaded, you might want to bring a tank asset against that tank asset. If he's got a tank asset loaded, you might want to turn the corner and bring out a bazooka or a Panzerschreck or something like that. So it's that nice little versatile role, just like the name says, where you can switch your gun out as something else to give it more function on a battlefield. So it's better to hitting buildings, it's better at hitting infantry, because it can suddenly, this anti-tank gun can act as a howitzer, or this howitzer that is really good against infantry and buildings and area suddenly can actually load a anti-tank round against another vehicle. It usually is a step down. I did not find any in my looking that were equal. Like this medium howitzer acts as a medium anti-tank gun. I could be wrong. There's lots in the book as it stands right now, but I noticed that it seemed to be this medium howitzer acts as a light anti-tank gun, or this medium anti-tank gun acts as a light howitzer. Is usually a step down. But I found that that doesn't seem to add a lot of points to the gun. But it is, if I had a choice between a vehicle asset that is going to have versatile versus a vehicle that doesn't, and if it was within the right point range, I would say about 10 to 15 points, which they all seem to be, I would definitely lean towards the versatile as my choice over other guns. And then moving on to, if you're using your sorry, go ahead, Craig. What's your question?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to quickly just jump in there a sec, because there does seem to be I've noticed a few players use those tanks with a howitzer quite aggressively to push forward and chase down infantry.
Oh, yes.
And get to that point blank range, because hitting on that 3+,
or 2 if you manage to miss the first time and you still are in range for the next round.
And I think that's quite an interesting tactic, to be quite aggressive with those howitzer tanks and pushing up. And they're quite interesting. I'm thinking what other ones that, I mean, with the Germans, it's the Stug, and there's a Stu and a few other things, but which one is it? The 105 Sherman.
Yep.
The is it the Scott?
Yes, the Scott.
The Stuart Scott. Yeah.
There's quite a few little ones that I'm actually quite tempted by. I mean, when the British book comes out, I've already received and got my Avery Churchill, which I'm planning to use with my commandos as a rolling mortar veteran, doesn't give a crap because it's armor 10 when it drives up the table. So we'll see.
That one in particular is very interesting as a howitzer because it has reduced range.
Yeah, it does.
It is literally the only heavy howitzer I think in this game I would consider, because it's got a rule that halves the range. So if you look at heavy howitzers, they have, I think it's 36 to 72. I'm just quickly scrolling as you see me looking on the other screen. Heavy howitzer is 42 inches as its short range, 84 is its long range when you're firing in direct. 42 inches is like if you're on your board edge, and let's minus the fact that that's a huge tank and it's probably already, if its back end is on the board edge, its turret is probably at this 6-inch mark. You can, and if it is at the 6-inch mark, you can only indirect fire if you were to fire straight across the board, something that is literally sitting on the other edge. But because it's got that interesting rule of half range, it can actually indirect fire 21 inches. and its long range, instead of being 84, is now its which would normally be a howitzer short range of 42 inches, which is literally half the board. I think that is the most or only heavy howitzer that is worth taking in this game. Because everything else, any other heavy howitzer is going to be looking for direct fire all the time. It is never going to indirect fire, because there's the chances of something being more than 42 inches away from it and it's still being in an actively involved in the game in a way that is good. And by that I mean it's not sitting on the right board edge or the left or right corner, kind of shooting to the other side of the board or the other half of the board. Because even if you put it in on a 6-foot table, you put it in the right corner, 42 inches is still beyond the half-foot mark. Like that's almost 4 feet. So it's shooting just past half for indirect fire. That's useless. But with the AVRE, or the AVRE, as Craig likes to say, they
called it AVRE.
Yeah, I don't know if AVRE is right or AVRE is right, but either way, armored vehicle.
AVRE is the right term.
Yeah. So
I think my research.
Yeah. I think that is the only heavy howitzer I would ever put on the board, just because of that key rule of half range.
And you can go through a building with it.
It's a 10 plus tank, so
through the building.
Yeah, you park it behind the building, and then you just drive through the building and shoot whatever the hell you want in front of you. I just find that half range really makes that heavy howitzer the only heavy howitzer in the game that I have seen so far. And there could be other ones that have that half range rule that I would put on the board. I have played with medium howitzers, and 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I freaking hate this weapon because of the range restrictions for indirect. And you don't want to put it out in the open because everything can kill it generally, especially when it's a non-tank asset. But if you want to use direct or indirect and direct fire, I think that Churchill AVRE is the best in the game, even for the points cost.
Yeah, and I'm going to go in heavy. I'm going to go in 2 feet, veteran, 360 point. It's going to be unless you've got some big ass tank, I'm just going to slowly move up the board. I don't care. I just move fire until I get close, and then we'll see what happens. But
yeah, and we'll discuss veterancy with tanks a little later.
Derek, going back to your original question, the flamethrowers. So a vehicle shooting a flamethrower, after it's shot, you roll a d6 per flamethrower that was fired. If you can fire more than one.
Yeah.
On a 1 or 2, it's run out of fuel, and the weapon has run out of fuel, but the vehicle is still fine.
Yes. So it doesn't have the same rule as flamethrowers where they take an extra pin?
They take the unit that fired it to infantry or vehicle takes a pin.
It is infantry or vehicle. That's what I was asking.
If you fire a wasp, it takes a pin when it fires.
Yeah.
Where does it say that though? Wasn't that a version 2 thing?
No, it is a version 3.
Paragraph.
Sorry?
It's in the same paragraph when you under flamethrower. Is it 90?
97 is flamethrower. Okay, so while Craig looks it up, other thing is that a vehicle that is a flamethrower vehicle, when it is shot at, you add 1 to the vehicle damage results because it's a risk of all the volatile fuel.
Yeah. Again, the Churchill is awesome because it's got the trailer.
Yeah. Any unit hit by a flamethrower takes 1 pin marker and it's been hit in a further D3. Blah, 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 blah. For a total D3 plus 1. On the other hand,
Okay,
so anybody else that's following around that heard us say 97 under flamethrower, 1, 2, 3, in the 4th paragraph, the second sentence says infantry or vehicle receives an extra pin marker. Whether they hit or missed, you get a pin marker. So that was their way of kind of trying to tone down the use of flamethrowers.
But it'd be interesting to find out which vehicle can fire more than one flamethrower at a time.
At this point, I don't think there are any, and I don't think there ever will be, because
Yeah,
it would be way too. I
Well,
think
listen,
there are.
The
there's a
SDKF said,
yeah. There's the German one. It's got 2 flamethrowers, one left corner, one right rear corner, or something.
And you can fire both at the same time?
You don't fire at the same time, but you could.
They're on
but you
different
could
arcs.
fire one and run out, and then the next turn you could fire again from the other one, and theoretically run out.
Interesting.
I don't have the German book on me right now, so I'll look at that. So
I'm
when
mission
you're
to buy all the Panzer SDKF sets, so I've got one of each version, so I can play whatever I want.
so in-game roll, that was versatile. Moving on to what would you like to use your vehicle for anti-building or anti-emplacement, Craig? How would you use it, and would you use it?
Flamethrower.
Sorry, yeah. You got to make sure that it is a building and not a ruin, because ruins aren't freaking buildings.
It's a fucking
Right.
building. There went our PG rating.
Well, I said freaking, so it was your fault if it
Oh
was.
yeah, I was talking about me.
Yeah, so anti-building emplacements. Yeah, tanks are actually not bad at shooting at buildings. It's odd that you don't get bonuses to hit a building, which is a bit weird. I mean, it's not moving; it's a pretty big thing. But anywho, but the difference is that you don't use a template. You look at the size of the template you're firing, the high explosive number, and then you cross-reference that with firing in the building rule, and it tells you how many hits that you cause. So it could be D3, D6, depending on the size of the high explosive round that's going in. You can opt to go down as infantry if you're inside. Well, if you were artillery or a heavy weapons team inside, you can opt to go down. You still get no cover, but you do half the number of high explosive hits that you take. So take that as it is. However, there is a chance that if you have a stronger gun and you roll a 10 or higher with your when you're rolling for the penetration, for the number of hits, you actually, if you get 10 or higher, you can destroy the building. So with your bigger guns, that is feasible to do. Do I think it's worth it to do that? Yeah, it depends if it's a small team that you're firing at, or a small infantry squad. You want to keep it pinned in, but
Remember, if you blow up the building, anything in the building dies automatically.
Yes, but you gotta have a big enough gun to be doing that. So
you need 10 on 2d6 or 3d6, because the only thing you're going to be shooting is a heavy howitzer or a medium howitzer into a building.
what it's good for is taking out, if you want to, is taking out machine gun teams or light mortar teams or snipers that are in buildings. That's really kind of where that comes in. But it's more, it's lower down my priority list when I'm using a tank to fire. It's my bit done, now he's done.
Yeah, excellent. Matt, flak, the bane of the American Army.
I don't get taking flak for that purpose. I won't purchase any vehicle for the purpose of flak. To me, that's a secondary role. I just don't find we face enough airplanes for it to be something I'm going to spend points on. That said, like I'll talk about Germans because that's what I know. Like the Whirlwind or the Wind Wagon, I'll definitely take those. I love the Whirlwind; it's fun. But I'm not buying it to go after airplanes. I'm using it for the 8 autocannon shots against light vehicles or dug-in infantry. And then if there is an airplane, great, I've got something for it. But I'm not My personal opinion is I'm not purchasing an armored vehicle or even a subskin vehicle to take down airplanes. That's sorry. To me, there's not much to say about that one.
I think it'd be interesting, Matt,
know.
when we see more tournaments and the US book comes out. It'd be interesting to see if we see more air units for Americans. I mean, the fact is we're seeing more American lists anyway, just because of version 3 with Battle of the Bulge releases.
Yep.
I'm wondering if in time we'll see more of that happen. More forward aircraft observers. And so we may need to bring in those flags. But yeah, I agree. For now, there's not really much out there. But
I've been talking to a couple of the
that is true,
American players.
Based on what we've got.
Oh, you I cut you out, Matt. I missed the last half of that sentence.
That's right. I was just saying that, yeah, I agree with Craig that based on what we've got now, I wouldn't. But yeah, I guess in the future, if so the Americans get 2 airplane attacks still, or is that version 2?
Nope. It's
So they still get 2. So yeah,
until the book.
so if you're facing a lot more, yeah. So if you're facing a lot of Americans, then sure, they're definitely worth it then. Especially the SDK said 7, I think it is, the one with the autocannons on it. That would be great for that role because you can hide it in the back, but at least then it's protecting you from aircraft. But if I think at that point I'm going to throw armor on it so I can run it up and also do some damage to some squishier things.
Yeah.
Because you can shoot at a unit and then fire at the aircraft anyway. So yeah, I would use it for both roles. And
cool. Okay.
So talking to the American players, because we've got a whack of them. I want to say, what is there, 8, 9 in the league, Craig?
Yeah, about 9 or 10. Yeah. So that's quite
so
a big
like
number.
almost half the players are playing Americans. After talking to a couple of them, especially Tony and I can't remember the other guy that are really good players. They're not new. Some of the newer players haven't figured it out yet, but he's playing the MGC 16 or the M16 GC, the gun carriage that has the 4 50 cals. So he gets 12 50 cal shots at a single target, but it deletes units. But the thing is, it's also flak. And the thing with the Americans is you get double planes with your forward air observer. The problem is when you bring in planes, your flak for your planes has to make a morale test not to fire. Because on the battlefield, whenever people saw planes, they were like, I don't know if they're ours or not, but I'm just going to start laying it out, right? So they have to make that roll to say, I'm not going to fire. Well, if you do fire with 12 50 cal shots, you could take down your own planes. And that vehicle is worth like 100 and I want to say it's 110 or 120 points. I think it's more worth it, and a couple of the veteran US players think it's more worth taking that than it is taking the double air observer and just relying on a forward artillery observer instead. Just because also the increased use of autocannons in everybody else's list. So I don't Sorry, I cut you off.
Go ahead.
But I don't think you're going to see a lot of people picking flak with the Americans in mind, because the Americans aren't bringing air observers, because they also have their flak also has to make that roll not to shoot, whereas you are going to shoot, right? Like, so I don't think, I think you're right when you say having flak on your vehicle is a secondary. And it shouldn't be. I don't foresee, even with the American book coming out, I don't foresee American players shouldn't. I should distinguish that. I don't see American players suddenly bringing a bunch of forward air observers. I looked at my list, and as soon as I put my list together, I had to drop it because I had 2 of those 50 cal armor cars, right? So I think you're right in the fact that flak is a secondary decision maker.
For the Americans, though, is this where you might see, like, say, everyone else, if you're taking flak, even if you're taking it for either role, if you want it for any infantry or actually to use it as flak, other nations will probably take inexperienced or regular. As an American, though, if you are planning to bring air, I think then you will definitely see them bring veteran so that they can pass that identification role easier.
Yeah.
Or the test, yeah. So I think that's the one time that you'll definitely see them upgraded to a veteran, because an MMG carrier, that can't be that many points. Is it like 120 points? Or
It's under
130?
150, that's for sure.
Okay, so even if you raise it up to veteran.
Yeah, even as a veteran, I think it's 150 or less.
Okay.
I don't know if 150 is worth it. Like, I don't think a veteran is worth it on a 7+ open topped, but some people might think it's worth that. But I can't see. Yeah, I can't see anybody. And I'm going to segue into this. Considerations when picking vehicles, one of the biggest things would be your veterancy or your skill level, whether it's inexperienced, regular, or veteran. So we have to take into account that inexperienced and regular vehicles can be pinned by anything from a heavy machine gun up, regardless of their armor. So whether or not a heavy machine gun, which is +1 for penetration, is the first one on the chart, if it hits a vehicle, whether that vehicle is, I guess the lowest would be 8+, because D6 +1 is 7. If it hits a vehicle that's 8+, that's a veteran, it doesn't do anything. If it's an inexperienced or regular, it still puts the pins on. So at what point do you start thinking that regular is better than veteran, inexperienced is just as good or bad as regular? What point do you guys think, and I say both armor value and whether it's open topped or enclosed, whether it's basically an armored car, an open topped assault gun, or a closed assault gun or tank, at what point do you decide to go veteran or keep it regular or even inexperienced? Sean, where are you sitting on this?
You take a look at what coverage I have for the pluses. Pins don't mean as much if I've got good pluses backing it up. So if I've got that major in an open top vehicle sitting behind that thing, handing out +4s, I'm taking regular because I had to pay for that major somehow.
Yeah.
But I've just got one. Then maybe a minimum loadout, if you want to dip your toe into the armored world, would be an anti-tank vehicle and an anti-infantry vehicle. I'd probably want to make that anti-tank vehicle veteran, so that one shot that it's getting is not going to be a +1 because of extra pins.
So is your anti-tank vehicle a 7+, an 8+, a 9+, a 12?
It starts at a medium. But
So
I'd go for
8.
heavy, like Panzer IV, heavy anti-tank gun, Panther.
Yeah.
You know,
Panzer IV
Very-
is 8+?
9+.
9+.
Okay,
Okay. So 9+ is your veteran
Yeah,
cutoff?
9+ gives you the protection against all the little stuff, and then so it's only going to be heavy guns coming back at you that are going to, well, I guess the light it would give you a pin as well, but
Light.
it gets rid of those
light
stupid auto
tank, yeah.
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 And do you get the pin if it hits the wall beside you?
No, because
Yeah, you do.
because HE is the pen drops.
No. If you get a cover save, do you still get the pin? I think you do, right?
If he hits you,
Yeah.
and you
so
make
you
the
still-
cover save, the cover save
still
does.
take-
You don't take
You
the
still
pin
take
if
the
you
hit.
take
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he still hits you. Yes,
Yeah.
you just make the cover save. No, you make the cover save before
fire
the wound.
at you. if he fires at you, no, with tanks, typically you roll the cover save before you roll for damage, right?
Yeah.
The cover save is you're not even hit.
Oh, you're hit. You're making your save.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, yeah, I'm talking
Yeah.
toad Josh. Yeah, forget it. Forget it.
You're just saving yourself from figuring out the chart and saving time.
Yeah.
That's why
You're
they
right.
have you do the cover save first, just to save
Yeah.
time. It's the cover save for a vehicle is just to save time.
That's to make anti-tank
Game
guns even
playing
worse.
time. Yeah.
It's there to make anti-tank guns even worse.
Yeah.
Now you're hitting half the time, and half of those hits are going to count.
Yeah. But it's just a saver for now. You don't have to figure out where and go through the whole chart. I hit you for this, you do this, and now you make your cover save. Oh, ignore all the shit we just did. It's just there to save game time. But
What you
are
do is you get
still
a
hit.
mouse. You get a mouse, and then you put a bunch of Panzer IIs behind it, and they're
Yes.
all getting cover saves as the mouse goes across the thing.
Exactly. So, Craig, where do you put your veterancy? I shouldn't use the word veterancy. I should use skill level because veterancy sounds like I'm saying, are you a veteran? Where do you put your skill level? 7, 8, 9, 10? Where do you say this definitely needs to be a veteran?
9.
9?
9 fully armored. My assumption is that a lot of the time, I think you will probably ignore 90% of your opponent's anti-tank capabilities with a 9 because everyone's got +2, unless they get a side shot or rear shot, but you're doing something wrong if that happens. So I think 9 is the sweet spot for that.
So you're only lurking for Panzerschrecks, bazookas, Piets,
Yeah,
all the light
I'm
shit.
gonna-
When you say
I'm
light
gonna
shit,
use
you mean
those out. Yeah,
you mean rifles, light autocannons, heavy machine guns.
anti-tank rifles,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Also, even I mean, I'm still susceptible to light anti-tank guns, but I'm hoping I'm at long range, so it's going to be a -1 anyway. So worst case is you're tying, but I mean, you still take the pin, but it buys you time, right? The veterancy level buys you time. It allows you to push forward and be aggressive. So with the right tank, the veterancy allows you to not necessarily dominate, but definitely put your opponent on the back foot. And I think, would I do it with every list that I do? No, I wouldn't do that. It'd have to be a special build that I was doing. But yeah, I think there is, especially the fact with Germans that there's a nice little cherry on top. You get the veteran rule, the Panzer Ace rule.
Yes.
So to have a veteran like Panzer 3, Panzer 4, I think they're probably in the, maybe even a Stug, they're in the realm of being able to have a Armor 9 and being in the sweet spot.
Germans are kind of a special case because when you give them veteran on certain vehicles, they get that added bonus of the Panzer Ace.
You can buy it.
Yeah. Oh, is it a purchase? I thought it was just a. No, I
it's
thought it was
free.
just a national.
Free.
These the following
National.
tanks are veteran. They get this.
And another good thing about that is one pin doesn't matter, especially if you're veteran,
Yeah.
because it goes away the moment you do something. They got to put 2 pins on you for it to have any effect.
Yeah.
Other than you're making the roll, but what are you going to roll? 12s? How often?
Evan, what are you thinking for skill level veterancy for your vehicle? Where do you decide that, or how do you decide whether you want to be a veteran or regular?
I try to choose, if I'm going to play a tank which is an anti-tank role, that will be penciled in as veteran, but often I find I've got too many points and I need to drop it down to a regular. But it's the same sort of theory. The 9 plus the Panzer 4 with the heavy AT, that sort of rough ballpark area of tank.
Yeah. Matt, also another German player.
Yeah, I think
When you're
Yeah.
taking into account your
Yeah.
skill level, are you thinking about the Panzer Ace, or are you just thinking about regular veteran? Is it worth it doing this cutoff? Is there a cutoff, or is there some other thought process that is going through your mind when you decide if you want to be veteran or not?
Lately, I've just been running a lot of front number 8s, so I just stick with regular. If I've got points, I'll probably go veteran, but only more for the Panzer Ace skill, because my dice tend to suck at penetrating, so I need the extra help. I can hit them, I just can't penetrate, or I'll penetrate them and then I don't damage them. So that extra +1 is really nice for me. Front armor 9, I probably would, but then you're getting up quite a bit in points. But I probably would do veteran again, more because my memory for playing. Everyone's saying, "Oh, what's this? Oh, that's regular. That's veteran." I like to try and keep everything as the same as possible, just so as we're playing game, I'm not looking it up on the list all the time.
Yeah.
So, the only thing I know for sure is not a veteran are my light mortars.
So I kind of run on the rule of much like Craig, anytime I can start avoiding +2, meaning I'm looking at 9s, I start looking at veteran. I've been playing the finish a lot, and I'm looking at the 1200 point list of maybe putting a KV1 in there. I know it's not, the T28 is way better, but I've looked at the list. I've already played at 800 points 2 T28s. I might against Sean tomorrow play 3 T28s or 228 T28s, but at the 1200 point level, the KV1 that the Finnish get is only available at veteran, and I'm thinking about it. The drawback being that it's 304 points. I get 1 hull mounted MMG, 1 rear turret MMG, and 1 coax MMG, plus I think it's a medium anti-tank gun. So for me, that tank isn't optimized at 300 points for only basically firing 6 dice forward, because the medium AT, I don't know if it's worth it, but it is 10 plus all the way around. It's got all around armor. So even on the sides and the back, it's going to be 10 plus. So I'm basically ignoring right up to light anti-tank, I think is... No, Pietz. Pietz is where the +4 starts, and the light anti-tank can still pin, but everything else is not. So I'm not sure if it's worth it. I think one of the things we have to look at when we're looking at tanks is what are you armed with? Like having a 10 plus veteran is great, but at 300 points, if I'm only getting 6 shots, where Evan brings this Panzer 4, is it the Panzer 4G or Panzer 3G?
Panzer 3E.
3E that has the 12 MMGs, 4 MMGs, 12 shots for like 180 points or something silly. So I was talking to Craig about this the other day. I want to put a spreadsheet together where I look at the point costs of all the vehicles and what they're armed with, what their armor value is, and see if I can break down the points break in these vehicles, because I don't think they're consistent. And I'd like to see if there's any kind of... if there's anything they lean, say this is good or this is bad, because right now it looks like they look at the vehicle and say, historically this was an amazing vehicle, so we're going to make it this many points, where the game as it stands right now seems to, like a Matilda is an amazing vehicle, yet you would never have seen it in late war because it's slow, and so there seems to be some inconsistencies there. But I think, like you guys, armor 9 is where you start thinking about going veteran to ignore the pins. And that brings us, like I was saying, to armament. What are you guys looking for in your tanks? What kind of armament and where would you go with it? Like, are you looking for lots of machine guns, lots of heavies? Do you pick a role for your tank? Or are you thinking like everybody's bringing tanks, so I need a heavy anti-tank gun or a super anti-tank gun? Or you just say, screw it, Panzer 4E with 12 MMGs or 4 MMGs and 12 shots. Oh yeah, it's got 3 MMGs, but because they're German, they get 4 shots.
3 with 3 MMGs.
Gs, yes, and the German buzzsaw rule gives them the 12 shots. Sorry.
There's an Italian that has 4 MMGs.
There you go. I knew there was somebody out there. So let's go in reverse order this time. Matt, what armament and armor are you looking for in tanks? I'm going to put these two categories together and saying, do you look for particular armor? And are you looking at armament? Do you look at them separately or together?
I take a mix. Like upcoming tournament, I've got 4 vehicles in my list. 2 Panzer III. I think it's an H. It's a light anti-tank gun. Panzer III with a light anti-tank gun. So that's front armor 8. I got 1 Panzer III, I believe it's an L. So front armor 8, but it's a medium anti-tank gun. And then the SDK I've said 9, I believe it is, the light autocannon, the Recce. So they're all for different things. The light anti-tanks are what I'm expecting to face. The medium anti-tank should deal with the rare tank that might need it. And then the Recce is just for fun, run around, annoy people. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mix.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing in particular you're looking for. Evan, armament and armor. Do you look at them separately? Do you look at them together? How do you
kind of mush them together, choose the tanks I like, and play from there. Very scientific.
Yeah.
And also, because we're doing the league and building up the forces, I kind of lean a little bit towards what tanks I have already. So yeah, not too in depth and scientific and statistical yet. That'll come later.
It's pretty.
It's pretty.
I've just been painting tanks because I actually love painting tanks. I discovered that I do like painting. I like painting vehicles. I like distressing them and making them all cool. So I've been painting absolutely every tank that the finish can take, just not actually fielding most of them. Well, I did field a T-26, which is a piece of shit, but that's beside the point. Craig, when you're looking at your lists, are you thinking about what you have on the shelf? Are you thinking armament? Should I expand? Should I not expand? How are your choices made?
At the moment, I'm still trying to figure out tanks. To be honest, I'm not sold on them. I think that infantry with anti-tank weapons are still king. I mean, the fact is that vehicles are good for. They're good. You can contest objectives, but they can't take objectives. So I'm still not sold on tanks, but the tanks I do have with my Germans, I've defaulted to the Panzer III-G, which has it's 150 points, 155 points, and it's got a medium anti-tank gun. So 2 of those for 300 and 310, whatever, driving around. They're there to go hunt out other tanks or to push other tanks.
Do you have any machine guns on there? Is it 1 or 2?
I have 1 machine gun,
Yeah.
just 1. So I think it's just the Coax. Yeah, I've not quite figured out tanks yet, but that's my go-to at the moment. I'd love to be able to try Marders and anti-tank tank destroyers and stuff like that, but they're either so expensive or they're open-topped, so you can't. A rifleman can put a pin on you, and you're like, well, that's great, thanks very much. So you then have to double down on trying to get commanders around the corner. But Yeah, I think open topped is one of those things that is effective for recce units. Like you go, okay, I'll take a hit, but on tanks and tank destroyers that have are open topped, I don't think that that's necessarily at this point worth it, which is a shame because I'd like to see more of those.
So, Sean, you used to play Italians, but in the league you're playing Americans. What is your take using those two? Because I know your Italian is more theory crafted, because I don't know if you've played any Italians yet, but in version 3. But what is your take on this? What are you looking at?
Italians don't have a lot of good tanks. They've got if you want an anti-tank with an Italian, you're taking the Sturms, because they have the 9+ front armor, but they also have the improved HE. So instead of 1 inch on the medium, it's 2 inch, which is nice.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that in Versatile.
Yeah. But the so my approach with it is I really look at the whole list and I go, what have I got for anti-tank? What have I got for pushing? What have I got for support, kind of thing. So I'm like Craig. I've always been tanks but I do like just having the mobile things that can run around like that with a little more impunity when they're set up right. So I just like tanks. I don't like the really big ones. Even the Panzer IV is just too big. It just takes up too much space. I like the little ones that you can kind of scoot around in. I should probably get some Hetzers or something, but so I mean, I'm going to take some. I'm going to always look to see what I can do, but I do like Craig. I go, oh, instead of a tank, I can take 2 bazookas if I'm American. I can take 2 bazookas, or I can take 2 Panzerfausts, and then if I'm a German, I not only can I take the Panzerfausts, instead of taking a Panzer IV, I can also then load up on Panzer Schrecks as well too. Get a couple of those. So now, yeah. That's 2 parts. That's a lot of anti-tank you can put out if you need to. But I think tanks are good for just having that mix. And if you've only got a couple, you surround them with infantry to fight off the bazookas. And I don't think a full tank list will work, because some missions they just won't score unless you table the other guy. Yeah,
because they can't most tournaments vehicles can only contest, they can't take.
I think we'll see a lot of people taking the 2 or 3 or 4 tanks or armored vehicles with the like those autocannons are ruthless for just getting through and lifting stuff. And there's a lot of quad autocannons out there on cheap platforms, inexpensive platforms.
Yeah.
So those will probably be interesting to see. So I think having a solid anti-tank in your list is required, and putting some armor in front of it really helps get your use out of it. I just hate the rate of fire 1. That's all.
Yeah. I still feel that this game rewards early war tanks and not late war tanks, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to roll up the next to maneuverability. Sean was talking about a little bit, and so was Craig. Is that anybody else have any thoughts on maneuverability? Is that a thought that you're taking? Are you looking? Do you care if it's slow? Do you care if it's fast? And are there any other special rules as for in that category, kind of slow, fast, or like the AVRE, which is half your range? Are there anything else that anybody thinks about when they're choosing their armor, Matt?
Maneuverability? No. Most of the stuff that I take is all just the medium and light tanks, so there isn't any special rules for that.
Yeah.
The heavy ones I just haven't gotten into, because for Germans they're so expensive, and I think, like we discussed,
the game doesn't reward
one shot. No, like if I want a mobile machine gun platform, I'm taking a Luke. I'm not taking King Tiger.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the only consideration.
Evan, you got any thoughts on that? Oh, sorry, I thought you were finished.
Yeah. No, I was just rambling.
Evan, any thoughts on
what
yours?
Matt said.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Craig, Sean, I ask you both at the same time because I can't think of any special rules that really affect anybody's decision making. Like, I don't think slow and fast really matters much, but it could. Like, maybe it does for you guys.
Tracked versus wheeled is a consideration for a lot of the light armored cars and that.
The which? Sorry.
Tracked versus wheeled.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's big because tracked is just more maneuverable unless you're on roads.
Yeah, I would say special rules are not from a maneuverability perspective, but special rules in general, I would say that there are some. Like, I think unreliable. If I recall, I think for the finish, for some reason not others, but for the finish you get a discount off your tanks.
I didn't realize that.
But you do. The finish do. But there's a discount for the unreliable rule, and I think there's also slight discounts for weak sides and vulnerable and stuff like that. So,
are you avoiding those rules, or are you leaning into them?
If when the appropriate list go, I'll use it. If I could get a discounted tank, I'll take it.
You'll just make sure you keep that front armor if you've got weak sides, or what is it? Weak sides or riveted or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. It's like it counts as the rear when you're being shot in the side or something like that. So, and like Sean pointed out earlier, the 5 point for that one
catches
tank
on fire.
that catches on fire. It's like, but yeah. Other than that, yeah. But from a maneuverability perspective, I just go through terrain anyway with my tanks. Like, they're very rarely in the open. They're really just. I find because I use them I use them to shepherd my opponent's infantry, because they go, well, I'm behind a building, or I'm in ruins, or I'm what's like. Well, I don't care because I'm 9 inches away, right? I've got a 15-inch range to be point blank. So I'm using that to keep you either at arm's length. And even if you've got an anti-tank like a Panzerfaust or something, you are going to have to come and try and maneuver close enough to me, which most of the time I've got my infantry kind of supporting me anyway. But if you're trying to get to me with an anti-tank weapon, then I'm pushing you to use it at a 5+ because you've moved to try and take me out, rather than get within a 6-inch to hit me on a 3.
Yeah.
So I use that threat of the 9-inch move to go through terrain or ruins or wall, or what you think you're protected behind that wall. I don't care, right? Even if it's a blocking wall I can't see, or a bocage, I'm just driving straight through it. And I think a lot of players forget that you can just crush through. So I think maneuverability less about speed and more about driving as the crow flies, rather than wheeled vehicles that have to go round. Like, I find so many times, because we play in games where there is more terrain than there used to be in version 2, there's more little things that stop your wheeled vehicles from escaping, especially with recce. I've played several games where someone's tried to recce away and they can't get away because there's like a hay bale in the way that's blocking them from going between 2 other terrain pieces, and then you blow that. So it's things like that you're. I think that 9-inch movement to get within 6 inches keeps people either away, or they forget about it and you just go, right, I'm going to come after you now. So, which is pretty cool.
John?
Me again?
Well, you didn't answer. He answered his half of the question. I was wondering if there's any. You mentioned the maneuverability. Is there any special rules you look for, or as you mentioned, easily catches fire? Is there anything else you look for that you'll play around for the discount, or you want for the bonus?
No, I don't really start worrying about. I don't get that finite on my lists. I don't drill into them and try and squeeze every penny out of them.
All right.
Okay, cool. So that's the review of the tank platoon. If there's anything we missed or any thoughts that you may have, send them our way. We don't know everything. We're just 5, 6 grumbly guys. 5. There's 5 of us. I forget how many. There's 5 grumbly guys just thinking our best. So if you got any ideas, let us know. So we'll take a break. The tank squadron's logging up for the night, and we're going to grab a cup of tea, just like any good British regiment would do. And we're going to talk about what's going to happen after the war. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talk about hobby focus. Okay, and we're back, and hope you had a good break. Now I'm going to hand you over to Sean, who's going to talk about what hobby is happening.
All right. So we have coming up, AdeptiCan is the big one. Tournament-wise, I don't have a lot of tournaments coming up other than AdeptiCan. I'm playing some Shatterpoint this weekend. Mostly my painting is revolving around finishing off that Hail Caesar box. Now, I'm not going to finish the whole box. But I will get half of the 12 sprues of Italian Allies painted for next Wednesday. We're just, and then we'll get some lists together. Oh, no, it's Thursday. Thursday is Hail Caesar. Because next Wednesday we're playing Battlefront. We're playing Alpha Strike at Torch. So let's.
Not Battlefront.
Yeah. And before this weekend comes, I'll send out, or over the weekend, I'll send out what we'll play. It'll probably be like $250 each, and we'll just play. I'll send out the mission we're going to do for that, and then and then for Hail Caesar on Thursday, we're gonna try it. Nobody's played it yet, so it'll be a bit of a learning thing. And then I've almost got my silver bayonet models all painted up for next Friday.
Nice.
And then Saturday, I'll be playing Germans at Bolt Action at Tistaminis. And then Sunday, we head to Toronto, and that'll be the end of AdeptiCan. And we're back to our regularly scheduled program. Although I still took Monday off.
Yeah, I couldn't. Besides
You took Monday off as well.
Well, I
I've
guess
got to
we're
go
doing
as well.
something Monday then.
But yeah, did we decide one of the days, nights, maybe after Tistaminis? Are we going to go to Chicago Pizza and get some Chicago pizza?
Pizza in Hamilton on Upper Sherman. It's called Chicago Pizza because they make the deep dish just like they do in Chicago, because that family came from Chicago to Hamilton. I worked there throughout my college career, whatever that was, 30 years ago, and the place is still there. So that tells you a little something about this restaurant.
What? Americans moving to Canada? Why would they do that?
To sell pizza.
To sell pizza.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Sorry, Dave.
I've never played BattleTech before. Looking forward to playing Silver Bayonet for the first time. Looking forward to playing Hail Caesar for the first time. Although I'm not going to wear a toga, because you can have your pipes and smoking jackets for Waterloo and stuff, but not sure what we're going to do for Hail Caesar.
I'll fucking wear a toga.
A toga.
Whatever.
Targa.
There goes our
I've
PG
only got a
rating
quarter of
even
a bottle left. I'm just saying, I'm into it. Toga it is.
I can picture Derek having like a bunch of grapes and like feeding.
We always have technical difficulties.
Yeah, we should all be lying on chaise lounge as we're doing moves and have grapes fed to us.
Torchlight kicks us out.
No, they can't kick us out. The staff is going to be there with palm leaves fanning us.
Germany.
This is part of your
gonna
job
do-
description.
I'm going to play my SS, and I've decided now that my SS is actually the 12th SS, the Hitler Jugend.
Well,
So every Canadian can come after them.
I might have to play Canadians for the first time in a while.
I was just thinking, I gotta switch my list.
I might just slap
again.
him in the back of the head. He's not Canadian anyway, so he won't know. That is literally the only German unit I refuse to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was very interesting. Not very interesting. I watched a movie on Prime called The Last Rifleman with Pierce Brosnan, and it's based on a true story of a soldier from D-Day, and he is from the Ulster Royal Light Infantry, I think it is. And he decides to go to the D-Day anniversary, 75th anniversary, but it's last minute. And so the care home won't let him leave. His passport's out of date, but he smuggles himself out. He manages to get to France with an expired passport. He stows away, gets there, and everyone's trying to find him. His family's trying to find him. Everyone's trying to find him, but basically he manages to get to D-Day. But part of that, he's on... he finds his way on a tour coach bus for this anniversary, but it's with Germans. So he's on this bus with these Germans, and he sits down next to a German, and he's like, and he has a really good conversation with a guy who actually, in the film, was 12th SS Hitlerjugend.
Wow.
And so he's like, this guy's like, well, we were, the SS guy's like, well, we were kids, we didn't know, we were conscripted by that time, and the other guy's like, yeah, well, we were kids too. So it goes back and forth, but by the end, it's kind of there's a bond there, kind of a thing. So it was very interesting. I have no experience about what actual veterans have and their views on the Hitlerjugend.
And I only say that because of Meyer and the officers, not the line troops. The line troops, half of them were, like you said, they were just kids and they grew up in the Hitler Youth program. I want to say the program where
17-year-old. I mean, what did you know at 16 and 17?
Well, and at 17, when they're entering the front line, it's 45. They spent the last 5, maybe even 7 years under the fascist school system that told them this is the way it is. Like, it's everything they learned. So for me,
I'm not giving them any excuses but what I am saying is I'm taking them so that I can rile up the Canadians who want to play me.
You go. All right.
I think I got to rewrite it.
Anybody else got anything cool happening in hobby time?
Just the same things as those guys, getting ready for AdeptiCan, and well, now I think I might have to do Dieplis just because of Craig. Because I don't have Normandy, so my Canadians all rely on Churchills, right? So, I might have to. I don't know.
I smoke some weed in my pipe, so every time I breathe it in, I'm like, "Oh, that's a nice flavor. I might have to throw some more in here."
That's our R rating.
Yeah, there goes our R rating.
It left a while ago.
It's legal. I swore, and I talked about weed. Weed is legal. All right, Matt. You want to take us out?
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for Armor Platoons. Next episode, we're going to be talking about Reki and special guest, Alessio Cavatore. Is that correct? I never know how to say his name.
Right,
Yep.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's
correct.
Okay, good. But if anyone out there, all three of you, have questions that you want for us to ask them about the Armies of the USA book, you can send us an email at dicehosers@gmail.com. I'm sure Derek's going to be posting that in the notes at the bottom. So think of some great questions, and if they get past Craig and Derek's approval, then we'll be asking them. And I guess on that note, see you guys. Have a good one.
Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen.
There you go.